Hello and good evening. I'm Jonathan Albin. I am Game Master Jay, and I am here with NycosRPG and the Game Master Soapbox. Our format is adjusting a little bit to player interests and things that have been recommended to me. And today we're going to be talking about how you can embark into the unforgettable with the NycosRPG system. So we're going to be talking specifically about how the system works, how it can help your game, and how it can expand what you are hoping to achieve in your roleplay experiences. We are going to be talking in particular about how we can unleash the adventures regardless of the game systems that you're operating under, because the system, the NycosRPG system, is not intended to necessarily replace but to amplify your play experience. Next, we're going to talk about the nature of world building under the NycosRPG mechanism. We're going to discuss the development of character creation and the expansion of character interests within the game. We're also going to talk about the unbridled and interactive storytelling that can be accomplished utilizing this mechanism, and how it increases the relaxed collaborative nature of gameplay within the groups. Additionally, we're going to be providing at the end an option or a means by which you can get a free copy of the Dark Shard system book and start to apply the NycosRPG mechanism in your own home games. So before we get started, I wanted to thank you for your viewership. And if you like what you see, make sure you click on the follow button down below. Like us on Facebook, add us in terms of your share mechanisms, and by all means subscribe to our channel, because that's how we can definitely get the word out to more people. If you don't like what you see, I appreciate what time you've offered us so far, and I wish you Godspeed. Now, when I talk about unleashing an RPG system or to unleash your adventures, what I'm speaking of is a mechanism whereby you, as the game master and storyteller, can amplify your players' joy in the game by allowing for enhanced or increased effectiveness, game over game, session over session, without your needing to provide them with a specific pile of experience points. They simply can amplify their abilities using NycosRPG. It also provides a mechanism for taking care of die rolling in a completely innovative way, and that will also release you from having to cross-check statistics all the time or cross-check damage values and so on. Finally, within that, we're also talking about unleashing your ability as a storyteller from needing to worry about the CR ratings per se of each individual creature monster that you bring to bear on your players, and gives you a more smooth transition during competitions, whether they be skills checks or whether they be skill versus skill conflicts, or even going all the way to combat. So as you go along, you'll see that the NycosRPG mechanism fundamentally acts as a saddle system. It can be used standalone, or it can be used with other systems to make your players familiar first, and then bring them to an understanding of how this system can really help them overall. Now, when I say that it involves an intuitive, accelerated world building, what do I mean? Well, a storyteller, a game master who is spending all of his time building his world, has to take into account just a boatload of information on the nature and the abilities and the weapons and the gear and on for their nemesis characters, for the villains. And this can often take a huge amount of your creative time and drag you down into the depths of slogging through a rule system to look for particular abilities and skills. I know that in my case as a game master, for decades, when I built a new adventure, I would take hours and hours to build out not just the physical map of the location, but I had to worry about the biospheres and which creatures ate which creatures and all of that. And that's all great. That's all really, really important to do. But if you're busy pursuing looking in the monster manual for the the skill, the abilities and attributes of the monsters, or going to an alternate source to get additional creatures and things to bring to the table to make it interesting to your players, all of this research tends to drag you down into the pit of rules and bogs down your creativity, bogs down the player's interaction, when you can actually supplant and improve that by adapting a mechanism that allows a more relative approach. I go far more into information on this in my how to play presentations, which I'm doing on Saturday mornings. So if you want to know more about that, you can check with me on startplaying.games and find the Nycos How to Play events. Anyway, this opening up of the creativity means that you can spend more time working on the biosphere. You can spend more time worrying about what the creature's life cycle is. You can do all kinds of nuanced things that make the game at once faster to develop and also more intuitive, because the entire NycosRPG mechanism is based on a statistics system. So fundamentally, there's a way to scale what you are doing within your creature base to determine its effectiveness against your opponents by knowing where your players are and what their potentials are, and therefore matching more quickly and intuitively, simply doing a short equation. Just, is this equal to that? Yes. Okay, we're good to go. If this isn't equal to that, then I have to increase X by this. It's simple. But the point is that it's intuitive. It's easy to comprehend. A 15% is a 15%. If it's something is likely to happen at a 60 to 65%, then it's that number. It's easy to determine. So world building made easier makes the job for a game master easier. Well, what about the characters? Well, a character development that allows for consistent, constant, and creative character development puts back into the hands of the players the ability to make the game their own. And making the game their own means that you are doing your job as a storyteller and game master to bring them into the universe that you are presenting. This constant character advancement mechanism actually eventually it makes the CR system irrelevant, because you don't have to worry about how many experience points the players earned in an encounter. They simply advance by the things that they do in game. What this allows also for is that the players then can create their own pathway through the game, so that the restrictions that are involved with building a traditional character in a traditional roleplay game fall away. You don't have to worry about a class, because any being can take any pathway to its own enlightenment, whether that be through mystical means, or whether that's through physical means, or whether that's through skill-based. It just opens it up so much. Furthermore, you don't have to establish, if you're using a system that includes a pool of hit points, you can certainly maintain using that if you want. On the other hand, this system actually establishes a different relationship between life essence and movement activity and such in the environment, and removes all of those burdens, and instead provides you with a very solid mechanism for choosing direction for characters as they move forward, because what they choose to do is what they do. If they choose to follow a path that leads them down a martial course, then everything that they're doing that is martial is going to advance it. If they have chosen instead to pick up new mystical abilities, then we simply follow that course. So each of these methodologies means that a character can be a broad brush of who a person really is, not limiting them to a restricted pathway or course through their life as a character. So these changes provide for a more constant and creative character development. Well, let's talk a little bit about how does the integration work? How does a player and a DM interconnect? And it's simple. They're unbridled. They're no longer limited. The players can choose the direction they want to go within the story, and the game master can intrinsically follow them because he's presenting his story or his series of encounters such that the players then can choose their own means of resolving them. Does it mean that you always fight? No. Does it mean that you never fight? No. It means that you have the opportunity to do exactly what you want within the game environment. And it's interactive in that the players have as much input into what the actions are within the game in terms of their dedication, and then the dedication and the action that they take resolves by a simple comparison, and you can handle it in moments rather than hours and hours of a combat slog. And I know how many of us dislike the combat slog of certain game systems. This gets rid of that and replaces it with a quicker, more theatric, and more cinematic experience for the players and the storyteller. Finally, it's a more relaxed, collaborative gameplay mechanism because the very concepts that made the player have to pigeonhole or arrange his life to fit the direction that the storyteller wanted to go is much more open. It's connective. You're building a world in which these persona exist. It's a place. It's a thought process that moves people from the tune-based game mechanism into a personality-based role-play system. And that change over is not only revolutionary, but it's liberating. It's so much, there's so much liberty and freedom in it, I can't even describe it. And I know that I'm going through this way faster than I expected to because I'm just so excited about it. But I want to get to the last part now that we're here already. I want to maintain this, that if you want to get your hands on a free copy of the PDF of the Nykos Dark Shards system book, which is the first of the books that will be that's being produced. If you want to receive the early release PDF version of it, simply show up Saturday morning on this channel, NycosRPG, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we are going to be hosting an event through startplaying.games. If you haven't been to that site, it's amazing. It's a way you can actually find game masters that run the games that you like in a wide variety of time slots. And while it is admittedly for play endeavor, there are many events such as my introduction to Nykos event there is no charge for, and you simply go there and you can register for the event in advance so that you got a slot guaranteed. Now, I only have a limited number of them. I only have eight slots for the Saturday morning event, and so it's the only one I currently have scheduled. So make sure you get over there and subscribe as quickly as you can for that, so that you can get your copy of the Dark Shards PDF, the Dark Shards system book PDF. That gives you everything you need to be able to administer or play in a NycosRPG roleplay game that utilizes the mechanism. So also, for more information on the system itself, you can check my playlists. Many of my episodes have snippets and pieces about the NycosRPG, and so it'll say so in the description or in the title. But make sure you get it. If you get a chance, you need to check those things out. And specifically, go to startplaying.com, www.startplaying.games. I said that wrong. Startplaying.games. And look up Jonathan G. Albin as Game Master. You'll see my event and register for the Saturday morning event, 10 a.m. And that registration should be up later tonight. So do that. I want to thank you for being here for this short Game Master Soapbox edition. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you like what you see, make sure you like and press like on the video. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel and